The workplace. My name is Amy Ballantyne. Welcome to Power to the People Pleasers. I'm so excited to have my guest Kimberly here. Welcome, Kimberly.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to dig into this conversation. I know this is a tool that you use a lot, but before we jump into this, have you ever been a people pleaser? And if so, how did that show up in your life?
Absolutely. And I'm so glad we're talking about the Enneagram today because I am a people pleaser all the way down into my personality. It's something that I was born with this desire to have deep connections with the people in my life. And that has shown up in a lot of placating behavior, a lot of behavior that has led to a lot of times of burnout in my life. And so definitely I'm a people pleaser, but hopefully a recovering people pleaser, and now teaching other people to learn how they are placating or showing up in a way that's burning themselves out as well.
Well, then this is very important, right? Because some of our individuals are either still people pleasers or on the road to recovery, like myself. And these are tips that can make a difference for all of us in the workplace and as real humans. So,
Absolutely.
before we jump in, I want to share a little bit about you so the audience knows how awesome you are. You're an executive coach, an Enneagram consultant, author, musician, small business owner, so many things. Master's degree in music, which is very cool.
Yeah.
And having worked in orthodontics and managed and co-founded an orthodontic practice, that's pretty incredible. And now uh, working in all sorts of areas, supporting leaders and teams around the country, teaching topics like self awareness, personality dynamics, and communication, and of course, author of Enneagram in the Workplace. So we've got a lot to dig into, and I'm curious what first drew you to the Enneagram, and how did that shift your leadership and teamwork?
Absolutely. So I always say I came to the Enneagram by way of necessity. So I was, like you said, I was part of a co-founding, co-owning duo of a large orthodontic practice that we had at one point 35 employees. I had three little kiddos at
Mhm.
home, and I was just burning out at such a significant pace. And I had a friend introduce me to the Enneagram. Which is a personality framework that helps people understand more about themselves, their blind spots, their triggers, their motivations. And she introduced it to me as a way of helping me figure out how I was showing up in a way that was leading to my burnout.
Mhm.
Knowing that, yes, circumstances can be very stressful, but a lot of times our reactions to those stressful situations are causing us to burn out versus rise to the occasion. And so it's through that process of learning about my own personality type and realizing that this was incredibly helpful at exposing the ways that I was showing up that was leading to that burnout, taking on other people's emotions, taking on other people's tasks, jumping in to help when nobody asked me to, but it was a result of my own anxiety, that these were all leading to incredible amounts of burnout. And I discovered it was so helpful for me that I started teaching my staff about it. I wrote a book about it, and now this is what I do full time, is help people
Mhm.
learn more about themselves so that they can show up in a more healthy way, a more sustainable way, and a way that leads to what they're dreaming about in their lives as
Mhm.
well.
I love that. And I can feel your authentic energy around this having made such a significant difference in your life. So that's why it's just pouring out of you. Now, if someone's brand new to the Enneagram, obviously you don't need to go into your entire training platform here, but how would you describe it to a first time person who's never had an interaction with it before?
Absolutely. So the Enneagram is just a personality framework. It's like a personality test, which is similar to MBTI, which has been around for a long time as well, or Colby, which is a more new player to the game. But it's basically a framework that likes to explain the question of why. Why do we do the things that we do? These motivations that are driving all sorts of decisions and behaviors that we have in our own lives. And the Enneagram likes to break out nine core motivations, that there are nine basic personality types based around these 9 core motivations. And of course, there's incredible amounts of nuance depending
Mhm.
on the person. But deep down, if we boil all of these decisions and behaviors down, there are about 9 core motivations underneath all of us.
Mm.
And we all choose one that we lean into more. Of course, we're influenced by a lot of them, but we lean into one that is driving the bus the most. And that's what we would call our type, is the core
Mm.
motivation that we struggle with the most, that is driving the bus in our lives. So
Mm.
these 9 types influence how we see the world and the perspective that we take as well.
Wow. And so as you were training your own team, that very first, the beginning of this journey, as you were training your own team, I understand self-awareness, as with any of these tools around personality. I know I use one for emotional intelligence. Self-awareness is very key. So what did you start to notice within your team having taught them this about the Enneagram?
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right that these personality frameworks, they're not necessarily growth tools, they're self awareness tools. And the main point of these tools is to expose those blind spots that
Mhm.
we are walking around with and are influencing our behaviors, our triggers, our conflicts, our communication styles, and bringing them into consciousness so that we can now decide, do we want to continue to let this
Mhm.
uh, be a behavior that I indulge in, or do I want to make better decisions for me? So, what I was noticing when we were bringing these tools to the workplace, that the team was able to at least create a little bit of space in between the stimulus and the response. So, I feel this emotion coming up. Instead of completing that habitual response, I'm going to pause and take a deep breath. Maybe I'm going to notice how I feel in that moment. Maybe I'm going to notice who I'm talking to, and if I have any knowledge about their personality and maybe what their experience they're bringing to the situation. And with that understanding, maybe I can not take it so personally. But
Mhm.
just creating a little bit of space between the stimulus and response, uh, we found that there was better communication, less conflict, still problem solving, but less of that just extreme acute emotional responses to interactions as well.
Mhm. The space between. Oh, the space between is a glorious, miraculous place, right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I can relate to that as well. So I'm curious, in your experience, what's one of the biggest communication breakdowns that happens on teams, and how can the Enneagram help with that?
I would say probably one of the biggest breakdowns is going to be our own trigger response to the situation. A lot of times it's not what's being said, it's the context or it's the subtext or the underlying message that we're hearing, and it's usually around some kind of deep core fear that we have, that it's not really about not being able to go to lunch with everyone. It's about deeply feeling that we are unwanted and that
Mhm.
we're trying to get as much space as we can from these core fears. So I think that that's what's really coming in between being able to have those hard conversations that are about problem solving, because we're constantly triggering each other's deep core fears and we never get to
Oh
the
my
actual
gosh.
problem. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. And we're triggering the creation of the story that keeps that
Yes.
fear alive, right? And rolling even further. Okay, so how does the Enneagram help then?
So the Enneagram again is, it's about creating that awareness. So if we
Mhm.
are aware that that is an emotional trigger for us, we are
Mhm.
going to be able to notice the tells when the trigger is happening. So we always have some
Mhm.
kind of physical tell, we have some emotional tell, or maybe we have some thought process that just starts revving up when the
Mhm.
trigger is coming. And when we're able to notice that ahead of time, then we're able to give ourselves what we need, some kind of soothing self talk. Maybe we need some space.
Mhm.
Maybe we need some clarification. Hey, I'm hearing this. Can you can you bounce off of me if that is correct? So it's about being aware of our own stuff so that when it starts to come up, we can decide, hey, should I take a step back and
Mhm.
deal with this before I spew on somebody else and get some kind of
Yeah.
conflict going?
I think you and I could talk about this all day. It's like
Yeah.
these are the conversations I'm having with people as well. So I know that it is very prevalent, right,
Yes.
in the workplace and when within our home lives. So I'm curious. You talk a lot about burnout and how understanding the Enneagram supported. Can you share a little bit more and maybe this will encourage those individuals who are nearing burnout
Yeah,
to learn more.
absolutely. And in my mind, s- dealing with burnout is about understanding deep down who you are
Mm,
and what you need and what you are bringing to the table that is leading to even more burnout in your life. For my own personal experience, my people pleasing, my desire to have deep connection, and my own anxiety around seeing other people struggle or have emotions was leading to my own burnout. So we all have our unique blend of what drains us of our energy. And by using the Enneagram, we start exposing those habits, behaviors, thought processes, emotional responses that are leading to burnout. It's not always going to be, oh, this workload is too much and that's what's leading to my burnout. Sometimes it's my emotional reaction to the people
mm,
in my workplace is leading to my burnout, or my inability to close the door in my workspace and get some alone time with
mm,
the project is leading to my burnout. And we're all so different. There's some personality types that not being around other people would be leading to burnout. So
mhm,
it's important when we are dealing with burnout to not say, oh, it's always about
yeah.
workload. It's always about, mental load. Though, of course, that can be it. It's about understanding ourselves,
Mm,
which is going to help us improve our work life balance, if there is such a thing,
mm,
improving our lives enough that fit us so that we can sit in our slipstream and make
yeah.
decisions that really benefit us the most.
Yeah, it's so personal. It's so personal,
Yes.
right? I'm curious if you're open to sharing. So you've mentioned other people's emotions affecting you.
Mm,
Can you share a little bit more about that and how you've shifted now that you know more about yourself? You have more self awareness.
absolutely. This is something that is a practice. It's a daily practice for me, and I always see it as improvement is 1 degree turns. It's
Mm,
um, first it was starting to say, oh, I'm noticing I am taking on this person's emotions,
mm,
and I'm just going to allow myself to observe that for now. And little by little getting space and having enough confidence in myself as well as in the strength of the relationship that
mm,
I can now step back as a person and say, I see you having this incredible hard time. I'm going to trust in your own ability to
mm,
handle those emotions. You're not asking me to do anything, and I can just be here as a container to allow you to have the space around me.
mm,
With my children in particular, I like to use a mantra for myself that I heard from some educators that I was working with. And it's this fantastic phrase: it's the person who does the work does the learning. And so
mm,
when I see my children struggling with a task and feel my own anxiety of like they're getting frustrated and I need to fix it, then I can say to myself, okay, anxiety, you are here. I see you. And the person who does the work does the learning. Do
mm,
I want my child to learn how to tie their shoes? You betcha. So I'm going to be a container for them and allow them to do the work in this. So it's a
mm,
process, and every person is going to come across those little nuggets of wisdom that will help them stay the course. But
mm,
it's definitely helped me. Again, thinking of it in terms of 1 degree turns and taking time when
mm,
I have jumped in and I've people pleased or I've taken on somebody else's emotions, to step back and say, okay, how would I do this differently next time?
Yeah, I love that. The awareness of how will I do this differently next time? Like
Mm,
being present enough to know there is learning available All the
Yes.
time.
All the time.
All the time, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So I'm curious, when you think about blind spots,
Mm.
like, have you noticed any particular blind spots in the people that you have worked with that you can call out that came into awareness after using the Enneagram?
Absolutely. So a lot of times when I'm working, especially with certain personality types that are very relationally oriented, and I see them in some kind of leadership position, frequently a blind spot for this person will be around that relationship that, in one context, a leader had been promoted to the point where now she is in charge of some subordinates that she was more of a colleague next to
Mm.
or a mentor next to in the past. And it's about that relationship and needing to change the relationship from, uh, buddy buddy to more of a parent child, for lack of a better term of
Mhm.
description, and being able to separate out the closeness as well as the uh, needing to make decisions for the company now. So a lot of
Mhm.
blind spots, I feel like, especially for women who are relationally deep, it's about that relationship a lot.
Mhm.
It'll come out in terms of, I don't know what to do. I don't know what the right decision is. When really they do know the right decision. They just don't want to make people mad and they don't want to change the
Mm.
relationship, which is totally understandable.
Mhm.
So a lot of times working with leaders, especially women, is about strengthening their understanding of their own relationship, their authority to make these decisions,
Mhm.
as well as encouraging them to trust the relationship and trust that if it falls apart, you know, it needed to at that
Mhm.
in a way as well. So yeah, definitely with women, it's relationships.
What would you say with gentlemen?
I would say with gentlemen, it is relationships as well, but it usually is more, it's more nuanced as well. So I would say there's a lot of um, image, or there can be things such as their own ability to make decisions. So it's a little bit of the pressure that they feel to make the decisions that are right for the company. So it's more nuanced. There is also relationship in there, but for women, I feel like it's
Right,
especially
yeah.
relationally deep women. It's easy to kind of narrow in on that.
Mhm, mhm. In your experience, is there a commonality with a certain Enneagram type and the C-suite layer, or is it so diverse that you can't narrow?
And I would say that I get this question a lot. And what I
Mhm,
like to say is that we all have capabilities of leadership,
mhm,
entrepreneurship, creativity. That's another big one that people will count themselves out because they're not a certain type. We all have capabilities to do these big things. Usually, we just have a different avenue and different roadblocks we have to work through to get
mhm,
to those areas. So, one type is going to have to work through roadblocks of, allowing themselves to individuate from relationships. And
mhm,
other types are going to have to work through roadblocks of considering relationships more,
mhm,
to get to the point of leadership. Like I said, leadership, creativity are big ones as well.
mhm. Very interesting. So you've written a book on this topic. Uh, what, if anything, is there to share from the book that you haven't talked about already that you feel is valuable to add here?
Absolutely. So the book that I wrote is supposed to be a spotlight and kind of a reference guide on the Enneagram types themselves, as well as certain types of interactions they're going to have with other types. So, and ways that we trigger each other just by existing and working through our
Mhm,
own messages and motivations. And so, what's great about the book is that it's supposed to be a quick way of diving deep into each of the types, as well as learning about the other types you might be interacting with and the ways that you could be triggering each other. Because I think that's one of the best gifts of the Enneagram is dawning the perspective of another person and seeing how they might interpret interactions from you, and to depersonalize other people's reactions and interactions as well. That maybe it's not always about you, it's sometimes just about them.
Yeah, I teach that line a lot. This is not about me. This is not about me.
Oh, what a great mantra. I'll be
Right?
using that one as well.
Yeah, yeah. So in your sessions with teams, you have the individual take the Enneagram so they can learn about themselves,
Mhm.
develop that self-awareness, and then they come back together as a team. And then tell me a little bit more about how you deepen the learning in that workplace environment.
Absolutely. So, like you said, the first step is always people learning about their own type. It sometimes the Enneagram can be slightly tricky figuring out your type, but since the goal of a personality framework is deepening your self awareness, there is no lost time in the
Yeah.
journey towards discovering your type. So, the first step is everybody knowing their type. And when we're working as teams, we'll frequently look at certain things like conflict and how we all approach conflict or experience conflict differently, because there's many types that, they're here to call issues on the carpet, and then there's other
Mhm.
types that are like, this feels like a full out war. Yeah,
Yeah.
where's the subtlety? So it's important that even just understanding that we can approach the same thing very differently can bring a lot of understanding. So a lot of uncovering certain aspects of how we move about the world, and then discussions around how we can
Mhm.
improve how we approach things in the future, so that we're not triggering those that are very avoidant, and we're not brushing things under the rug for those who like to call things out into the room.
Yeah. There's so many great tools. This one sounds like an awesome one as well. And really these tools exist to support us on this journey of understanding ourselves better, of being able to optimize our own self so we can flourish at work, flourish in our home lives.
Absolutely.
Is there a final message that you'd like to leave any of these individuals on their people pleasing journey, whether they're still totally in it or recovering on their way? Any final thoughts there?
I guess I would just say that, listen to yourself, listen to your emotions and your body. You are getting more wisdom than you think. A lot of times we can be up in our heads and that these messages are scrambled of, I don't know what to do, or maybe they didn't mean that. And our bodies and our emotions are giving us a lot of wisdom on what our real experience is, and that the journey out of people pleasing is a slow one. It's about turns by 1 degree, but you will get there and you'll feel so much better on the other side.
Mm,
Uh, and we're all journeying together, so there's no shame if you're deep in it. And we all have
yeah.
times where we dip back into deep people pleasing. But again, listen to yourself. You know more about what your experience is than sometimes we tell ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. So you have offered a free guide, a free Enneagram trigger guide. Do you want to share any other information about that? I'll drop the link in the show notes.
Absolutely. So this is just a quick reference on all the different types and their most frequent triggers that they
Mm,
can become activated. And so a trigger is going to be anything that makes us feel like our core fear is about to happen, and will usually activate in some kind of way to get space, whether that's withdrawing or attacking the threat,
mm.
or getting very appeasing for diminishing the threat as well. So this is a quick guide. So if you know what your Enneagram type, then this would be a great reference to figure out what your triggers are and be able to be more aware of them.
Oh, amazing. Thank you for offering that. And for all the listeners, I'll drop all of Kimberly's links and website and everything as well so that they can be in touch for more information. And I really want to thank you. You clearly are passionate about this, and it's been a real pleasure to learn from you today. So thank you for being on the podcast with me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
And to all of our listeners, thank you so much again for choosing to spend your precious life force time on listening to Power to the People Pleasers. Please stay tuned for the next episode coming soon. Have an awesome day.